Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. This is our 10th episode in Season 2, SST-M. So this is something I'm very excited to show to you. It's something that I've wanted to do for quite a while. I did accomplish it in previous builds of KSP, but not yet this one, and not using all stock parts. This is my single stage to moon airplane. Continuing with our everything leaves from a runway trend except for communications relay, and Bob and Bill have been tasked to fly to the moon, land on it, and bring back that ever valuable science. I did use tweak scale on some of the scientific experiments, but other than that, this is a 100% stock spacecraft, and I'm super excited. So I just time warped through some of the long, boring things like our tedious ascent through the atmosphere. I did use a slightly more shallow approach vector here because I wanted to build up more speed. That LVN motor, while awesome and super efficient, is heavy as hell and doesn't give much thrust. So I wanted to get simply as high and as fast as possible before kicking it on. There it is. And double checking and getting everything squared away. So again, this is super time warpy, but there we go. We're now have a apoapsis that is out of the atmosphere and will let us make our circularization burn before we make our transfer to the moon. And we're there leaving our last ground-based comms relay. I do not have the antennas on this deployed yet because I didn't need to. I was honestly very nervous flying this mission because it's my first time attempting this in this particular build, and single stage to orbits are difficult enough. Single stage to high orbit is even a little bit more of a challenge, but trying to build something that was small enough and light enough to power itself out of the atmosphere and yet be able to get to the moon and back safely, leaving even enough fuel for a powered return, was tricky and challenging at best. So I decided I was going to keep it as simple as possible, use as low of a part count as possible. And there we are in orbit. Such a beautiful scene set there by a perfectly rising moon here in low orbit. And we're just going to go ahead and try to circularize this out. We don't want to get too far away. Again, O-berth effect. We want to be nice and close to the planet when we go to make our mooner, our transitional burn. We'll start to plot it out here. Get ourselves good and low. Not terribly eccentric. I actually want it to be a little bit of an eccentric intercept as well. You'll see when we get there, but we have a contract to fulfill on the surface of the moon. So we're going to start firing this node way early because LVN has no power. 60 kilonewtons I think is what it tops out at. But it's at 800 ISP that we are interested in. So it's a very long, very slow burn, most of which we're going to do here under physics acceleration because, well, we can. And I'm not going to make you sit through it. I'm not interested in sitting through it twice now. So lucky you. Go ahead and deploy our surface landing gears for no apparent reason whatsoever. And slowly but surely, you'll see our fuel levels ticking down there very slowly, considering how much of a change in our delta V we're getting. That's what that LVN is great for, as long as you don't want to do it quickly. See, even though we started that burn like a full 2 minutes before the actual node time, our trajectory is still shallow. We're still way behind schedule as far as where we're supposed to be, but we're still going to get where we wanted to be, and we are still under budget on our fuel requirements, which is awesome. You'll notice here I'm not making any adjustments to where we're coming in as far as our orbital plane, nor am I slowing down at all. preemptively to make our orbit insertion a little easier. I'm pretty happy with where our periapsis is. I don't really feel the need to alter it at this point. It takes us on a good path, so I'm just going to go ahead and wait till we hit orbit to make all the changes that we want here all in one burn, because it's much more efficient that way. Yes, and as you've probably noticed, we have a contract to deploy a rover down there on the surface of the moon and check out some anomalous signals that Mission Control said something about, maybe. It's not anywhere where I thought there was a charted anomaly on the moon. Hey, there's a satellite. But I'm going to check it out anyway, and it's worth like 22 science per waypoint plus 70 for completion, which is a pretty good yield. So I figure it's worth the trip. Just being able to fly this thing out here and do this mission was totally worth the build time and the trip itself. Honestly, didn't take me very long at all, but here we are again in a very long, very slow burn that I should have started way sooner than I did. Now, the trick to using an LVN motor pretty much for anything is to start burning way before you actually have to. This does not give you the same thrust to weight ratio that the 909s do, even though the 909s will burn fuel like twice, yeah, 3 times the rate, 4 times the rate, 2.5 times. I don't feel like doing maths in my head right now. So that's right about where we want that to be, as far as I can tell. It's kind of hard to make these alignments when you don't know if you're looking straight down on it or not, if you can clock it in at 0. But seeing as how we're just about where we need to be, there's no real point in making a complete orbit. So we're just going to go ahead and start our descent profile and make some adjustments as we need to. It looks like we do need to adjust that line a little bit. Just making sure we've got already have our low science crew report logged in. No need to get another one. So go ahead and speed up and get to our node. Maybe even a little past it, whichever. And burn to adjust. Alright. Now the trick here is we just want to see how long it's going to take to zero out our vertical speed and which direction we would point and how long we have before we hit the ground. So there's about 40 seconds difference in there. So what we're actually going to do is aim above our node to basically slow down while maintaining some semblance of altitude, which will bring us in a little higher than what our initial descent profile indicated, but it will give us more time to slow down. And with such a dismal thrust to weight ratio, we have to be able to make that trade-off because it keeps us from splatting into the ground at several hundred meters per second. So yes, I am starting my braking and my deceleration burn this far away from my target landing zone. And you notice my apoapsis climbing, at least it was before I adjusted my heading. And we're going to swing it the correct direction. Going to try to swing our trajectory down a little bit. Down as in south, not down as in towards the ground, to get us over these waypoints for this rover deployment. Again, I'm just using this node here to plot out how long the burn will actually take so that I know how far in advance I have to start firing the engines in order to not slap into the ground. Alright, and again, firing above the node to raise my apoapsis while slowing down to buy myself more time before I smash into things. You can see here we're, not too terribly low, but the terrain is interesting. I think I'm going to try to park it before that big hill there, although it looks like 4 of those waypoints are near the top of it. I don't want a chance having to land this thing on a big hill. It's not the most stable as far as when it's pointing up and down. The landing gear's not very well spaced. It's got a lot of weight off to the sides. So, here looks good to me. Way off target, but, well, a couple of clicks off target. Not too terrible, honestly, considering this was done entirely by the seat of my pants. I guess I shouldn't complain too much, but I'm going to pin in that throttle, and now it's time to, pump some fuel into those lower tanks here pretty soon to get our center of mass as close to the ground as possible. That's just to keep us from tipping over once we're actually landed. So, since both of these tanks, the port and starboard tanks, are running off of or fueling the same engine, their consumption levels should be equal, despite me moving fuel around while they're in operation. But difficult to pay attention to that, and to my speed, and to my angle, and to my throttle position, all at the same time. I falter a little bit. Sorry, I'm no Scott Manley. We are still way over budget on our fuel consumption, or under budget, I should say. We have way more than I thought we would at this point, so I don't feel even the slightest bit guilty about riding the throttle a little bit into this landing. So I'm just going to continue to do it, keep this descent profile nice and easy. The absolute worst thing that could happen right now is to hit the ground too hard, smash a landing gear, and break that LVN. It's our only means to get out of here. Alright, and there's the shadow, which we can use since there's no radar altimeter on exterior view, which, man, that would help so much. Nice and slow. Coming down a little more than 1 or 2 meters a second. Just nice and gently, keep it flat and level, and touchdown. And whoa, buddy, stay upright, there you go. Boom, single stage to moon. And next time we're going to take care of these waypoints, and we're going to see if we can't bring these brave little guys home. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'm the Cosmonaut. Thanks for watching.